Hi, welcome to Hazel Jane Tarot and to my video today about temperance. So today we're going to have a close look at what's in my tarot journal about temperance, my understanding of the card, which hopefully be useful to anybody who's learning tarot, and particularly if you are more experienced, maybe we can have an interesting conversation about what the card means to you in the comments below. This isn't a VR, but I'm filming this just after having watched the video The Art of Temperance, which was made by the channel Lemniscate Logic, James's video on the card Temperance. Now, I haven't included the art card from the Thoth deck because I don't work with that, but his reflections on it were really interesting, and I'll put that in the comments or the information below. But today I'm going to have a look at what I have here about temperance, which I did quite a few months ago here in my tarot journal, which you may have seen before if you follow my channel or follow me on Instagram at Hazel Jane Tarot. I hope the video is not too shaky. I'm trying to hold it in my hand today rather than on the tripod because I want to zoom in and look at different aspects of the card. The information here comes from my head and my reflections on the cards, but it also comes from the guidebooks on the decks that I have included, and a number of other tarot reference books and websites and so on. So this is just kind of a bringing together of all the research and thinking that I have on the card. Okay, sorry, something weird just happened with the white balance. Right, so temperance then. The keywords I have for temperance are moderation, blending, balance, guardian angel, peace, creativity, and integration. And I've also included here the names the angel and the ferret, which is probably mispronounced because it's Welsh. The angel is from the Spirit Keeper's Tarot by Annabelle Wen, and the ferret is from the Druidcraft Tarot. So in my diary or in my tarot journal, I like to include the names of the different versions of the deck that I've got. Then the images that I've included, there's just a mix here. I've got the image from the Gaian Tarot, the Lightseer's Tarot. I've included an image from the Slow Tarot, the Rider-Waite-Smith, which is central in all of my studies of the tarot. The Mythic Tarot, there's the Triple Goddess Tarot, and also the Numinous Tarot, which for this particular card I think is a really important version of the card. Now, when I started to look at temperance, one of the things I did was to look up the verb to temper in the Oxford English Dictionary online. So the verb to temper is to improve the hardness and elasticity of metal by heating and cooling, like tempered steel, to act as a neutralizing or counterbalancing force, idealism tempered with realism, or to tune an instrument. Another word for that is to temper. So I thought that was really interesting, kind of to know the origin of the word. And I've also included some of the kind of etymology of the word. So it comes from Old English temprian, to bring something else, to bring something to a required condition by mixing it with something else. Or the Latin temperare, which is to mingle or to restrain, which is interesting in relation to the card. And the Old French tempraire, to moderate, which is the proportional mixing of qualities. And then that's where we get the word temperament, to talk about your personality, because it's the mixing of what they used to think of as the humours in the body, blood, phlegm, and so on. And the balance of those created your temperament. So that is, again, an interesting angle to think about in relation to the tarot card Temperance. So to zoom in here and have a look, one of the things I like to do is to really break down the Rider-Waite-Smith card. And I'll be honest, as I mentioned in the comments on James's video about the Art of Temperance, this is a card that I have struggled with at times. It's felt challenging, kind of too good, and something that, you know, I felt kind of a bit called out by or confronted by. But over time and working with this card and studying it, it's been one that I've had out as a focus and a goal quite often over the last few years. And I'll go into maybe some of that in a minute, but it's one that I've really taken to and studied quite a bit. And this was the first card I did in my tarot journal as a result. So here we have, in the Rider-Waite image, we have this angel standing with 1 foot in water and 1 foot on earth. So 1 foot on water and 1 foot on dry land, showing the balance between the subconscious and the material world. And the pouring is really, really interesting in this image. So the cups, obviously, like, that defies the laws of physics. What's happening there, this is magical. You know, if they're pouring from the top cup into the bottom cup, like, the water would go, or the liquid go straight down, it wouldn't go into that cup. So there's something magical happening here, and some people think that the liquid is actually pouring upwards from the bottom cup into the top cup. So this, as it's got here, you know, this defies the laws of physics. It's magical, it's alchemy. And also, because it's water, or, you know, looks like water, it made me think about the pouring out of emotions as well. The angel is really interesting. So we have a halo, their head's glowing, so that shows like the blessedness of an angel. But the third eye is also glowing, so that shows insight. The symbol on the chest, you can see there's a triangle inside a square. So the triangle is fire, and this is potentially a symbol for male energy, the upright triangle, and it's also possibly a symbol for the Holy Trinity. And there's another interpretation of this triangle in the square box, which represents the soul in the physical body, which I thought was really interesting about this sense of temperance being the blending of two things, so like your physical self and your spiritual self. So we have the sunrise then happening in the background there over the mountain, and that is the liminal time sort of between night and day, and there's a path leading from where we are here with the angel, leading to the sunrise. So there is a path to spiritual enlightenment. You know, this is the way, you're heading the right way. We also have the iris flower here featured, and the iris is important in relation to the mythology to do with Iris. So that's what's depicted in the Temperance card there in the Mythic Tarot. So Iris was the goddess of the rainbow, the Greek goddess of the rainbow, and the rainbow bridge was how she guided female souls to the afterlife. And that idea of the crossing over, you know, from life into death. And also she apparently filled cups for the gods from the river Styx. So we've got the pouring there as well. So that Iris, the Greek goddess Iris, is represented here in the iris flower. And you tend to find some other depictions, like here, the Gaian Tarot depiction shows us the rainbow being poured from like a shell into, I think that's another shell. So, and again, it's an angel, but the rainbow and the iris flower is present. So the symbol of the rainbow is interesting. So we've got the masculine sun and the feminine rain combined to create a rainbow, which is again similar to the symbolism of the Temperance card. And the rainbow, of course, also the 7 colours within it blend to make white light. And then the rainbow also has that biblical background of God's promise not to destroy the world again after the flood. So there's like a positivity and a hopefulness associated with the rainbow. So that kind of picking apart of the symbolism, I feel, is important for me to have a good understanding of the card. I've also got a wee note here that our angel of Temperance was the Archangel Cassiel. So if you're trying to identify which angel is this supposed to be, that could be who it's supposed to be. I think the red wings are quite interesting. You know, until I really looked at it, I hadn't noticed that the wings were red, and it gives the angel a kind of a fierceness. Whereas, say, this angel in the Gaian Tarot is quite benign looking. And, you know, we have this angel here in the Lightseers Tarot, the sort of faded angel wings in the background. they're quite benign looking angels, whereas this angel in the Rider-Waite-Smith, that angel looks powerful and a wee bit scary, as with the big red wings, and I quite actually like that depiction. I know some people don't really enjoy this card because of the angel, and maybe it's too Christian an image for them, or they don't work with angels. I mean, I don't particularly work with angels, but this idea of the guardian angel is considered by some to be represented in the card Temperance, and that's something that in the Spirit Keepers Tarot, Benabel Wen worked with. I don't have a picture of it here in this journal, but she works with the idea of the Temperance card being a representation of your guardian angel. So the cardinal virtues then, the other thing that I found out when I was researching Temperance is that Temperance is one of the cardinal virtues. So you've prudence, courage, temperance, and justice are the cardinal virtues, and they're all depicted as female. Temperance is characterized by restraint, self-control, chastity, and abstention. So that's a slightly different take on temperance, whereas the verb to temper and the other etymological roots there are all to do with mixing and combining to get the right balance, whereas temperance in a Christian perspective in the cardinal virtues is much more about restraint, which is maybe a more one-sided idea of the idea of temperance. And so the cardinal virtues then come up in Plato's Republic, Thomas Aquinas, Maccabees, and so on, with some of the sources for the idea of the cardinal virtues. So how does the card, what kind of meanings are associated with a card then that has these backgrounds and details? So a lot of the meanings that I associate with temperance are to do with combining, balancing, bringing together. So the balance between the masculine and feminine qualities within the self. It could be, in an outside of yourself way, an arbitration between two parties to create peace and resolve conflict. The mixing of elements to create something new, creation and innovation, finding creative solutions to problems. It could be a card that represents actually magic and working the craft. It can also represent balance within yourself and within your life. So it could be talking about your work-life balance, a balanced diet, moderate consumption of alcohol, moderation of your emotions, avoiding extremes in sexuality. And it's like maybe a contrast with the devil, where the devil is maybe sometimes portrayed as a unrestrained, physical, exploration of all that life has to offer in all of its ways. This temperance is a more restrained exploration of that, maybe. But temperance, some people interpret it could mean like just actually having sex, the union of male and female in sex. And again, the male and female, it's because this male and female imagery comes up again and again within the card. Although, of course, it maybe you could interpret it as just sex more generally between two partners, a blending of two partners, whoever those might be. It's also sometimes interpreted as the successful blending of families or of friendship groups, of going with the flow, trying to be patient, not forcing things. Things will happen in their own good time. Temperance can be to do with higher purpose, a message from your guardian angel, or moving into a next stage of your spiritual journey. So those would be the interpretations I would potentially have found at different times working with the card. And then reversed, meaning then I do work with reversals depending on the deck. So reversed meanings of temperance: something is out of balance, in conflict, or to excess. Something is out of flow, maybe timing is off, something's out of sync. Maybe a divided sense of self, where something needs to be integrated within the self, or that you're unsure of your sense of identity, maybe in two minds about something, or rushing into things, or being impatient, not taking enough time over things. So this is the sort of some of the reversed meanings that I could work with for temperance. I've also written here a little fool's journey. Now this is not from any particular source. This is just my version of the fool's journey. And I have tended to use, I don't know if I have here, but I have tended to use female pronouns for my Fool's Journey just because those are the pronouns that I use for myself. So the Fool's Journey, after death and before the devil, the Fool has undergone a huge transformation and has been changed by it. So in death, there's a huge transformation. This is the integration of everything learned so far. The duality of the Emperor and Empress and the Hierophant and the High Priestess have been integrated to become one. So those dualities are often represented as male-female figures within the Rider-Waite-Smith major arcana, like the Empress and the Emperor, but really it's more the two different kinds of power that they represent, are being integrated here. It's a respite, a preparation for the challenge of facing our demons ahead. So we're moving into the devil and the tower and so on. So it's getting prepared for that next challenge and signals the beginning of a next stage of the journey on a higher spiritual level. So again, I find that helpful in interpreting this card. Another card that I found really helpful in my understanding of Temperance is this card from the Numinous Tarot, and this is actually the card that tipped me over into buying this beautiful independently produced deck by I believe the creator is going by Cedar MacLeod. The deck was previously published as being by Noel Arthur Hempel, but if you want to find the deck online, it's the creator is Cedar MacLeod. So Temperance in the Numinous Tarot, Cedar writes absolutely beautifully about this card. The deck, the Numinous Tarot, is designed with particularly non-binary and LGBT characters in mind, or people in mind, but the characters represented in the deck are all presented as non-binary with they, them pronouns, and kind of explores the tarot from that perspective. And this card is explored in the guidebook as to do with integrating the past self and the present self for a person who's in transition. And it explores it and describes it really beautifully in the guidebook. For me personally, I mean, that's not my life experience, but this card came up for me a lot when I had the year that I had my baby, and as one of the big lessons that I was learning was integrating my sense of myself as an individual and my sense of myself as a mother and this new identity, and being able to be both things. Because when I had the baby, initially you can I think it's quite common to feel quite lost in the identity of mother, and this card really spoke to me about being a person in transition, in one sense of integrating the old self and the new self. So while that's not what Cedar intended when they made this card, that's how it spoke to me on my experience, and that's one of the ways that Temperance has been relevant in my life. I have a little section here in my book. I always keep Temperance in my life. I have covered it up here because there's some quite private stuff, but sorry about the finger in the camera lens there. But one of the things that comes up for me a lot with Temperance is to do with this temperance in life. So I could be quite a emotionally expressive person, shall we say, and Temperance sometimes speaks to me about being more moderate in my expression of my emotions, or I am a person who sometimes eats to excess and carries extra weight, and Temperance has often spoken to me of being more moderate in my approach to food, and or spoken to me about work-life balance. So it sometimes can have quite practical everyday relevance, as well as more sort of spiritual meanings when it comes up for me as a card. So that is my take on Temperance. I hope that's been helpful, and I am in the process of making a series of videos where I talk through my process of actually creating, researching, putting together and doing the layout and so on for this tarot journal. So if you're interested in seeing that or any other tarot content, please do hit the subscribe button, and I'd love to see you back again in the future. Thanks, bye.